Here's how it affected me.
So no real crazy bells and whistles to this, just, conversation about the human beings.
I'm excited, man. I love you, dude. You're
Good
really,
to see you. Same right back at you, man.
always so thoughtful, even in movies that didn't always need the thoughtfulness. It's,
Jonah Hill, my good friend. It's good to see you, buddy.
you're a legend.
It's always a pleasure to kind of go on a journey with an actor, and we've been talking for probably nearly 10 years. I feel like to some, maybe the twists and turns your career have taken are unexpected. I'm not surprised at all, because we've been talking movies and love of movies forever. If anything, I'm almost surprised you didn't direct something a little bit earlier, because you've been talking about it for a while. What did it take to kind of get you to this place?
Well, I mean, I always just wanted to be a writer, director, be a filmmaker, and I, had the great fortune of falling into acting and having this amazing, 15-year career where I got to learn from almost all of my heroes.
Yeah.
And it was the most incredible film school in the world. And when I look at the people who are my heroes, let's say Mike Nichols or Barry Levinson, they waited till something was super personal or mattered to them.
Right.
And so for me, I had opportunities to direct movies that just wouldn't have been in my voice, and they would have been in someone else's voice. And I had to wait till I had something that actually really meant something to me, and I was confident enough and old enough to have my own voice and not just try and bite someone else's thing, you know? And that's what I did with Mid90s.
It's funny because I remember a few years back there was talk of you directing a much different kind of a film. There was Kitchen Sink, right? Which was something you were thinking about, which would have been something I think more, in some ways, expected, right? Like something that the kind of film that you would have appeared in back in the day.
Definitely, and that was, I bailed, thankfully I bailed because, I spent all of my 20s kind of doing things that people thought I should do.
Right.
And everyone, if you start out in comedy, everyone's like, you have to stay in comedy the rest of your life. And I was like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And then if you are an actor, they're like, you have to stay an actor the rest of your life. I'm like, I'm not doing that. It's to me, we are all allowed to design our own lives, and we're all allowed to have our own, we don't need to be put in any sort of box. And that for me is super inspiring. There's people I've seen even in the past couple of years, Donald Glover is a really good example of people that got me off my ass of I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. Anyone in my life who knows me knows that. I'm obsessed with films. You know that. Right. Same with you. I go to see Whiplash a few years ago with Spike Jonze, who's a good friend and mentor of mine, and my sister Beanie Feldstein, who's another hero of mine, and just all around 360 legend. And we're leaving the theater, and Spike's like, "How old is that guy?" And he's younger than you. And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You better stop talking shit and you better start working." And I was literally went home that night and started writing Mid90s. So I actually have to thank Damien Chazelle for being younger than me and being more successful than me as a filmmaker, because it did get me he basically was like, people your age are starting to throw it down. It's time for you to put, your money where your mouth is and walk the walk instead of just talking shit,
I'm curious because the performances you elicit in this are great, and they're so they feel naturalistic and nothing actory about it. I mean, as I understand it, when you were in school and you decided to kind of shift from directing and writing to focus on acting, part of it was because you weren't sure how to direct actors way back when. So clearly you figured that out somewhere along the way.
I had a good decade and a half to figure that out.
Right, but there's a degree of difficulty in this where you're not directing the seasoned pros that have been at it for 20 years.
These kids only know how to tell the truth. Even though they're not playing themselves and they became actors, they still have a rawness to them that anyone who's been in 40 movies doesn't have. And so it's actually more of a challenge to bring the world-class actors to the grounded level of these kids.
Strip away all the stuff that they've been accumulating for 40 years.
Yeah, and actually you're burned. You know, when you've been in a bunch of movies, you've been fucked over.
Yeah.
So you're not that trusting, it's like you've been cheated on 50 times. The director's like, you're gonna be in a great movie, you're gonna be in a great movie, and then it's dog shit, and then you're like, you start to have like trust issues, right?
Right. And
so
maybe
it's
don't
like,
go for it in the way that you would early on.
and you're protecting yourself as opposed to falling into the film, you know?
Yeah.
And so all of it's trust. Like I always say I'd rather die than embarrass you. Like I'm not gonna embarrass you, you know? And you have to be vulnerable because this is an emotional movie. And if you go 99%, it's a failure. It's endlessly moving and endlessly surprising to see people show up and give their all to it.
I want to show you a couple photos from the production because this
Okay.
I feel like you're in your element. This is just like, I love seeing this. This is you in the back of the car.
Heaven, yeah.
Is that heaven for you? That's kind of it?
Yeah, that's Jesse Focus next to me, pulling Focus. And it was probably like 106 degrees in Montebello, California. Yeah, that was just like, I mean, that's like as good as it gets.
Yeah.
You know, you're with them and you get to feel like you're 16 again. Except what's interesting is we had to premiere the New York Film Festival and Greg Mottola was there who directed Superbad.
Sure.
And I invited Greg and Bennett Miller, two directors that really meant a lot to me. And I said to Greg, I was like, it's been pretty trippy because I remember like when Michael Cera and Emma and I were like those kids and you were like the adult and you're just watching them, like having to wrangle them, you know, whatever. And I was like, I know what it's like to be on the other side now. And I get why you were so frustrated with me.
I'm sorry all these years later.
Yeah, I was like, you know, they say like when you have kids, you get it back like 10 times,
right.
whatever. I was like, yo, man, I'm really sorry. I was probably very annoying.
You're a saint, Greg Mottola, for putting up with my shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've been down this road with Emma from way back when, from Superbad and reteaming recently. It must be nice to have sort of like a buddy that's knows, very few people know what you've gone through, for good or for bad.
Yeah.
And she's been on a similar journey.
She's the best. I mean, I 100% did Maniac to be around Emma.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, like I love.
I get to hang out with Emma for a few months?
I
Oh, great.
I admire everybody involved, but like she is, I don't know, our business is weird sometimes, and sometimes you have like friends in show business that are like just casual friends, or
Sure.
you say what up or something, but she's my actual friend, and we've been friends for over 10 years, and I just love her, I respect her, I've loved watching her get better and better and become even more brilliant, and I don't know, she just is the best. Like I just would do anything for her, and I loved, you know, she was legally obligated to spend 4 months with me, so I was really happy about that.
There's one film that I'm not surprised popped up, at least in the background of this film, because I feel like in every conversation we've had for the last decade, it's come up, and you've since become buddies with Mr. Scorsese. Goodfellas is in there.
Yeah, if you're like a young actor or filmmaker, again, with like naturalism, like that scene where they're telling the story and it goes from like comedic to dark.
Right.
You know, the main thing I think if I have a gift as a filmmaker, it's to shift tones very naturally and abruptly, and that's how I believe life is, and that's what I'm trying to achieve in film.
Right.
And that's like the best example of modern film that does that kind of shifts tones.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like 30 different things within 5 minutes.
Did you have nicknames growing up? All the kids obviously have nicknames in this, some more choice than others.
As you might relate to this, so I was one of the only Jewish kids that skateboarded with my friends. So I was Jonah the Jew, which again is in the mid-90s. I don't think it would fly right now. I don't think that shit would fly any longer, but it is what it is. You know, a lot of the movie, the vernacular, the treatment of women, the kind of toxic masculinity, those things are like very deliberately shown harsh and brutally, and that was thoughtfully done to not pull back punches, to show how a lot of these lessons we have to unlearn now. And that was something that I think is one of the more effective things, and would actually only very once or twice has been misunderstood in a heartbreaking way, because it's like that was so deliberate.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah, and also it's about, you know, again, specificity, where how we were speaking then and what was in the culture then. You've talked about how like you didn't want to do nostalgia porn, but like certainly you see
no
things.
No skate porn, no nostalgia porn.
Right. But that being said, like of course, me with my eagle eye, I'm looking around like for the markers, and there are some cool markers in there. Did you have TMNT bed sheets? What were your bed sheets as a kid?
I believe I did that kind of stuff. So like the no nostalgia porn thing is like, it's there, it's part of the world, but the characters and the people are at the forefront.
Yeah.
So if you zoomed in with a microscope, everything is like hopefully the cutty choice, like the interesting choice, the correct choice, definitely, and the like. Our ethic on the film for every department, and myself included, is kill yourself to make it look like you did nothing.
Right.
But that's not why the movie exists, you know? But yeah, that kind of stuff is really fun. If you did grow up in that time period, you're like, I had that Ren and Stimpy t-shirt. I had that Street Fighter
exactly.
Yeah, it's like that kind of stuff. If you look at any CD in the brothers' room, it's like perfect, you know, like.
Well, let's talk about the music a little bit. I mean, that's a whole nother like 6-hour conversation, I know. But you were writing with music in mind, I assume, right?
Yeah, one is like, to me, music is how I write.
Yeah.
It's like the only way that I write is just music. And I'm the music supervisor of the movie. So like for me, every song that's in there was written to that scene. So it really is like what comes first, the chicken or the egg. It's like a lot of filmmaking, you know, and if you talk to a lot of the great filmmakers I've been lucky enough to talk to, it's like part of directing is, you know, getting to put the music you love in the emotional framework how you see it, you know? And so it was amazing. All these songs that I feel a certain way about, I got to put in the context of like what they mean to me, you know, with images and acting and feelings. And a big part of it was, to me, is like, you know, hip hop is like, skating's often misused in film. So is hip hop, and so hip hop is always used in movies in an exploitative way, like either to show like, you know, hood shit or balling. You know, it's like so deliberate, I guess. Yeah. Whereas for me, it was the emotional backbone of me growing up, and so I wanted to make a film that could frame hip hop elegantly, and you know, show that like Tribe to me is what like the Beatles were to my parents, you know, and that's been a really exciting thing, not only to share this film with skateboarding, but to show this film to like Raekwon and Q-Tip and have them respond like emotionally has been one of the great joys of this experience. Also.
It's funny the way we were talking about sort of like the great filmmakers knowing also the line between kind of like not doing it as a mic drop, like take you out of the film moment. And it doesn't surprise me how important the soundtrack has been to you, or this musical kind of landscape, because again, like Scorsese, PTA, like these are the guys I think of that like just know, and you're doing it for the music that's relevant to you, just as they were doing it, he's doing it for like Sinatra or whatever was relevant to him.
Yeah, and then PTA is like super, he, you know, if you grew up 20 years, it's always like a 20-year rule, so basically, not comparing myself to those filmmakers who are my heroes, but it is so cool, you know. It's like you get to celebrate the music that meant something to you.
Yeah. You've directed, by my count, 2 music videos, right? 2 very different kind of artists. Most recently, Danny Brown, right? Yeah. Got Gus Van Sant involved in there. There you are, doing your thing.
Hell yeah.
Is that just sort of like a fun kind of like primer to kind of get you?
I just love music again. Yeah. It's like, for me, a film takes years to germinate and create, and millions of dollars, and you know, galvanizing hundreds of people and selling dreams, essentially. Yes. And a music video is just, you have an idea, and with 3 weeks, it's executed and completed. Yeah. And you get to shoot something, and you get to use your crew. Like this was right before we went into production, so I used my same crew. Got it. On the Danny Brown video that I used on Mid90s. So it was like a great test run for us to try out. We actually tried out the same formats we used in the film. It was actually a free camera test, essentially, of like, we used Super 16 and high 8 footage on that Danny Brown video. So, and also I just love Danny Brown. I love rap music. Like, to me, to make this really weird art piece for a rap video, to me, was really fun and exciting.
Any artists on your list that you'd love to mix it up with as a
Tons.
director?
It's literally just time, you know? Yeah. It's like, Danny came along at the perfect moment as we were already about to go into prep. So it was like our machine was up and running. There's a million people I love out there right now.
What about Kanye? I know it's a divisive topic.
That's when I was in Wyoming, and things have gotten progressively stranger since then.
Clearly, yeah.
I mean, if you're our age, he is the, you know, for me and my friends, he is the artist of our generation. Sure. He is to me, the greatest music artist of our generation. Changed fashion, changed music. I think he's got to land this thing because I got Thanksgiving coming up and it's getting exhausting defending his ass. So like, either land it or say sorry, one or the other.
Because Beanie's still not on the Kanye.
My sister's not. Yeah, I got Christmas. I got Thanksgiving. I got Hanukkah. I got like all this stuff. So I love your music. I've known you for years. Like, land it or apologize because I'm fucking tired, dude.
Carrying the water for the Scotty Rubio.
Yeah.
Taking a step back, I mean, we were talking before about sort of like the evolution of a career. I feel like I'm, to outside looking in, basically the same exact person 10 years ago. You've changed in significant ways in that like you are now like the most like, you're like a style icon. You are like this guy that like people follow. It's not ironic or anything, it's legit.
Yeah, people like the way I dress and it's awesome. It's really cool, yeah.
When did you, I mean, you posted this on Instagram and you went to the day, I think, the second annual Jonah Hill Day.
Yeah. I love that they love my fashion, but my whole aesthetic is just like wearing my friend. Like if you look at what I'm
Hello
wearing
Dolly,
there,
of course.
That's my sister's Hello Dolly sweatshirt. I'm wearing Lottie's shorts, who's my shout out Lottie Skate Shop, best skate shop in LA. One of my close friends, I grew up skating with Mike Gelati, you know, and now skateboarding is fashion. And
yeah.
Like I wear Palace and like Lev is just my friend, you know, and I do love it. And I love that people are celebrating it. To me, it is just as creative as making films and stuff like that. It's just how you express yourself, how you dress. I like it, I respect it, and to me, that I'm an untraditional maybe person who would become someone who's big in fashion is very cool. You know, like I think we live in a world now where people are celebrated for their minds and what they do with their minds in a way that we haven't been in years past.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm proud to be any sort of like representation. If I could say to kids like, yo, if you're like some dorky kid who like loves movies and then like 20 years later you get to direct a movie and people jock how you dress, like, you know, I got here because of my brain.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's pretty cool, you know.
Do you have a better relationship, you think, with like celebrity now than back in the day? You've always been open. Like that's not the thing you came into this for, the thing you enjoyed. It's rough for anybody. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I just didn't handle it well.
Yeah.
I had to go through my awkward, insane growing up period in front of everybody. And I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. But the fruits of that are that I get to make things.
Yeah.
And like to me, I'm happy when I'm in a creative process that challenges me. And so if all of that leads to me getting to make another film, then I won. And you get better at it and you learn life's not so, you know, not to take everything so seriously and really just like try and be a nice person, help people, and if you're lucky enough to get to make things that you care about, then you're a pretty fucking lucky person.
I feel like there are lessons to be learned from your buddy Leo in terms of like handling the fame thing. Like nobody kind of has figured it out better in a way. Like talking about making the stuff that you love and separating art from celebrity. Were there lessons beyond just like what you learned from that friendship and collaboration of acting? Were there lessons about sort of like how to handle yourself as a person?
Sometimes, I mean, but really, he's just an amazing guy, and he, I think the thing I've taken away the most, which I need to get better at, is how he helps the world, how he helps the environment, and he has all, you know, he's a great friend, but he also, like really he cares about climate change and the environment, and he really works his ass off to make a difference in that way. And that's, to me, that's what's respectable.
Yeah. Do you appreciate it when you become major GIF and meme material? I still use this in mine. This is like one of my go-tos.
I love that.
How great is that, man?
I love that. I don't use them, but sometimes people will hit me with them. I just think, to me, it's like I'm 100% getting old, so I like don't understand anything, and I'm like, my nephews are like 9 and 11, and the kids in the movie are like, you know, 13 to like 24. So I'm just like, I do feel like a bit of a grandpa who's like now on the other side of like, fuck it, all right, like I'm a meme, I don't know what that is, all right.
Is it pronounced meme or mame?
Mame, yeah, cool. I'm a mama, all right, great. You know, it's like all that stuff is like if you wrap yourself up in the minutia of it,
It'll
you'll go crazy. And so kind of just, that's not me. There's 10 people who know me, and like the rest is like what everyone else wants to think.
You either let it drive you mad or laugh it off
Yeah.
and concentrate on what you love.
I'm out here trying to make movies. That's
I
it.
hear you, man.
Yeah.
We were talking when you came in, Mutual Admiration Society for your sister Beanie,
Of course.
who is
Queen.
killing it lately. You posted that. How sweet is that? Come on.
That's so cute.
Do you have
I miss when she was like that. She was just little and she couldn't boss me around. She didn't know words yet. She wasn't smarter than that. Was like the one you captured one frame
moment.
where she
You're still
wasn't
ahead.
smarter than me. Yeah.
Do you have the same love of musical theater that she does?
I don't, but I appreciate her love.
The passion.
Like, what hip hop is to me is like what musical theater is to her, or like film.
Yeah.
I would say film and hip hop mixed together
Yeah.
is sort of like what equals her musical theater.
Right.
And we teach each other, and like I go see plays with her a ton, and she tries to sit, like I clown her for not knowing films,
Right.
you know, and she clowns me for not knowing like musicals.
Right.
And so, but I've seen them all. The difference between us is I've had to fucking see her in every single musical. Like I've seen every musical ever since she was like 2. So the difference is she doesn't sit through the movies
You
with
put in
me.
the time as the good big brother you are.
I've seen them all. I can tell you all the words to like Grease and stuff.
You
like,
just don't have the inherent love.
and
It's
as I
all-
get
you
older,
appreciate a little,
what I
but-
loved Hello Dolly. She was in Hello Dolly with Bette Midler, and I loved that because it was so old school. Like the problem is a lot with modern musicals for me is that it almost is like how South Park, how like a Book of Mormon is, where you can almost make fun of that people start singing and
Right.
stuff because it's a little too close to life for people to just start singing.
Yeah.
But Hello Dolly and all the old ones are so throwback
Yes.
that they're so charming and there's no nihilism to them. They're just pure unabashed joy that
Yeah.
it's like, how could you not be smiling when you're watching this,
Right.
you know?
You'd be the ultimate curmudgeon.
And then it just becomes about taste of how high the taste level of the old-timey like fabrics and sets and
Yeah,
cast. And it's like, wow, okay, I understand how magical that is.
Totally. What's the directing career going to look like when we're talking 10 years down the road, you think? Are they going to feel of a part with Mid90s? Or do you want to kind of like do genre stuff too? What's the...
The only thing we know in life is that we know nothing.
Okay.
And so I'm just trying to make things that mean something to me, whatever that might be at that moment.
Yeah.
You know, I tend to be gravitated, at least in my first film, to really the pain and joy and everything in between of life and
Yeah.
just how that feels.
You hooked up with the right guys on this one, A24. They're like, if there's like a studio that like, I mean, it's bizarre to say like you can actually depend on their product, like from a studio. That doesn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah.
Are you somebody that kind of like worries about, I'm sure on some level like me, like you enjoy the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff. Do you worry about it kind of pushing out the tales of humanity?
I actually don't see any of that stuff.
You don't?
No,
Yeah.
I saw Black Panther with my nephews, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And I love Ryan Coogler. I'm a huge fan of his. To me, I don't worry about it because of it's up to people like me.
Right.
And it's up to people like A24 to, you know, they are a home for filmmakers. They are a place where you don't have to have someone flying around in a cape to like tell a story, and I respect that too.
Yeah.
It's just I really hope that people, you know, it isn't as easy to make movies just about a bunch of kids
Right.
growing up. And I love those kinds of movies. So for me, I love that there's a place like A24 that celebrates people trying to just make the films they make from their heart.
Yeah. Well, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you, and none more so than in this occasion, because I know it's an important moment for you in your career. You should feel very proud of what you've done in Mid90s.
Thanks.
Like you were talking before, this as we taped this, it premiered at the New York Film Festival last night, and I know from all accounts it went over like gangbusters, proof that a film doesn't need capes or explosions or whatever to connect on a very human,
I did wear a
visceral
cape
level.
to the premiere.
Well, you always do that though.
But
That's your thing.
Yeah, that's my thing.
It's always good to see you, buddy, and congratulations again on this one.
You're the best, Josh. Thanks.